Hello, guys, and welcome back. You're watching the Camera 64 podcast, and I am your host, Alfonso Chavez. And as always, we're coming to you from sunny San Antonio, Texas. From here in my garage, I got a quick ask before we even get started. So, we're going to take some pictures from the Shanee family's wedding here recently, actually, this past weekend. But before we get into that, I do want to make that quick ask. If you would please kindly share, guys, share our videos, comment on our videos, give us a thumbs up, or even better yet, subscribe. That would be amazing if you would do that for us. So we are trying to figure out how this algorithm works, but from what I understand, from what I've heard from other YouTubers, is that we need to ask you guys to kind of interact with us, and the way you do that is by commenting, giving us a thumbs up, or even better yet, subscribing. Those three things hopefully should improve our viewership, right? We're trying to extend the viewership so that we can start to make a little bit more of a commitment to the YouTube family. We absolutely would love to do that. Now, we are photographers. We're a small family-owned company here in San Antonio, camera64.com. And it includes both myself, my son, and my daughter-in-law. We both are, all three of us are photographers. And they're still learning. There's still a lot of things that they are still learning from. And that is one of the reasons why I want to make these videos, so I can let them know what they did wrong. And also, if you can learn something from this, what you can pick up from me, right? So we're going to go ahead and go into these pictures. So this, like I said, is the Shanee family. They are very proud of their young son, but she did not want me to share any of the pictures of her son, which we are absolutely not going to do. We absolutely respect her privacy, and we understand it, right? In today's generation, we just don't know who's watching or what they're doing with any kind of media or pictures that are put out of their children. So we absolutely are going to accommodate them, but they did allow me to share their pictures. And so that is what we're going to be doing here in this video. So the first thing I'm going to do, start off the bat, is talk a little bit about our style, right? Because our style is very plain, or what most people would consider to be plain. And what is plain, right? So for me, plain is basically capturing what they look like when I saw them that day. What did her dress look like? What did that background look like? And so there are some things that we do on purpose to ensure that everything looks appropriate, right? The colors are not we're not going to do some kind of crazy coloring. We're not going to do some kind of crazy sharpening. We're not going to try and eliminate objects unless they are just, very obvious. So in order to accomplish that, we have to shoot in a certain way. Now, we are out at Breckenridge Park, and this weekend just happened to be St. Patty's Day, right? And like most cities around the country, right, they have these huge celebrations, and Breckenridge Park was no different. There was all kinds of events going on. There were singers, there were performers, there were biker gangs, right, driving around. There were bicycle gangs driving around, kids on skateboards. You know what I'm saying. You know what a busy park looks like on a beautiful day, right? So there are people literally around us at all points. We even had people stop by and stand behind us and watch us as we were working. They're just interested, right? They're like, what are these guys doing? I want to see what they're doing. So that we had some of that too. But this building right here, I thought it was beautiful. It's brick. Now not having the burglar bars on there would have been nice, but it actually doesn't look too bad. So first thing, let's talk about the gear, what we use. So I got my settings off to the right here, and you can easily see that this is an EOS R6 Mark II, and our lens choice, which is my personal lens choice, which is 24-105. Now, I personally didn't shoot these pictures, but I was standing next to my son and daughter, and they were taking turns back and forth shooting these pictures as they came up with ideas. And that's one of the advantages to having a group, right? Instead of shooting by yourself, sometimes you can come up to a point where you don't know what to shoot next, right? And you're just like scratching your head, gosh, what would be a great pose? But when you have three people working together in a team, it just makes the sessions flow so much easier. My daughter-in-law might catch things that a guy, us guys are not paying attention to the hair, or if the dress is too low, or the dress is coming off her shoulder, or the veil's not hanging just right, where my daughter-in-law can see those things, and it really helps out. It allows us to concentrate on making sure that the flash is in the right place, the camera position is correct, so on and so forth. So yeah, so my son started off the day here, and he's shooting the 24 to, like I said, 24 to 105, which in my opinion is probably the most no, not, I take that back. It's not my opinion, it's the fact. It's my favorite lens, and at a wedding or a quinceañera, this lens stays on my camera probably 90% of the day for most situations. But that's what we're using. And for a flash, we're using one of the old 360s. So it's a Flashpoint 360, which is the Godox. They no longer make the 360. I own two of them, but they're like almost 7 or 8 years old now. I've only had to replace the batteries on them, but the flashes are really strong. They're small, and you're able to put a softbox and fire through a softbox even on a bright sunny day. These are shot during the day, so keep that in mind when you're watching these. So here's just a good mix of available light and the addition of a strobe, right? Nothing fancy. We're just getting that strobe in the right position. And one of the most important things is just making sure that you get that nice little light, pin light in their eye. I think that's something that's lost on a whole bunch of photographers when they first start using flash. But you can see there's nothing fancy here. This is a pose that, we probably do for 90% of people. Some people are able to do it more dramatically than others, but the results are the same. This lens provides sufficient contrast for most situations, guys. So here, this is one of the changes I want you to notice. So this is shot at 5600 Kelvin, okay? So we do, if you've been in this business any amount of time, you know that the more stuff that you can pre-select ahead of time just makes your editing so much easier. But I want you to see how much this warms up from the original 24 to 105 Canon lens. We switched to the Samyang 8514. And when I first bought this lens, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what was going on. Why were the pictures off of this 85 Samyang so warm? But after I did a couple of quick searches online, I come to find out this lens is actually a lot warmer, and it is a lot warmer. I would say probably 10 Kelvin. So instead of 56, this lens is more like a 46 or 45, somewhere around in there. And it is a big difference. I mean, let me show that to you one more time. It goes from this to this. That is warm, and because it's an aesthetic of the lens, I like to leave it the way it is, right? If the lens shoots warm, I leave it warm. If the lens shoots cool, I tend to leave it cool, because I'm a minimalist. When it comes to editing, I really do not make a whole bunch of changes. In general, the way it comes out is the way I usually deliver it. I'll make some very minor changes, like maybe adding a vignette, which I don't think I did. No, I did on this. I added a vignette to this. I might have adjusted the contrast a little bit on it, which I did. I can see it. And that's it. I may maybe bring up the saturation just a tad, and I bring up the luminance just a tad, and that's it. That's my edit. It's not much. And I'm always surprised at the amount of people, the number of people who are happy. They really like the edits. They really like the edits. And it's because I keep it minimal. It's not overdone. I think overdone is it's like the trend, right? That's what everybody wants to do, or let me take that back. That's what most people do. And then that's what most people who are receiving their pictures, I'm assuming they want that. I don't know. But yeah, we don't do that. We absolutely don't do that. And see, I'm really good at pointing out mistakes. So this is a mistake right here. I don't know if you can see. Take a look at it and see if you can make a decision. What's wrong with this picture? So we are using a flash in this picture. Without that flash here, this picture would be relatively dark, and you can tell by this corner up here. And down here, this is what it would look like. There would be a little bit of light on her, but nowhere near the amount that's on her right here. So the flash is hitting her right at her waist. You can see how bright that center port is. We're almost at the point where you're losing contrast. Now, because we are shooting at 1.4, it's not in focus here, but the highlights are really bright in here. So when I was editing this, I didn't catch this, but the bright spot is right here. And as a photographer, he should have caught this and asked me to bring my flash up a little bit higher so that that hot point was right here. And that way, once we adjusted here, then her dress, everything in her dress would have been consistent and even all the way from the bottom to the top. That was the mistake in that picture. And you can see the difference here. See this? That hot spot, and you can see it's gone here. See that? Hey, we make mistakes. That's what we do. But this is looking really good. And this picture right here, now this one is by design, guys. Now there's a lot of things that you probably looking at this and saying, wow, it looks different. You would be absolutely correct. So soft focus is a thing, or it was a thing. Let's put it that way. When I was a younger lad, But yeah, soft focus was a thing. So how do we do soft focus, right? Soft focus is basically slightly out of focus, right? So how would I accomplish that on her face? Well, I focus on her ear. And that's exactly what I did. Or I had my son do. I told him, focus the edge of her ear, which is exactly what he did. So now when you come down here, you got a nice little focus right here, which works out great because her hairpiece is in focus. And then this swash of hair right in front is beautifully in focus. And you can tell from here to her chin is out, and from here to her hair on the other side are out. And we can look at our settings here, and it's the 85, 1.4, 3/20th of a second, ISO 100. So he's shooting at f1.4, which is what creates such dramatic fall off. I mean, from her ear to her eye is only what, about an inch maybe, and it falls off beautifully. And then to complete the look, right, I did in fact add a vignette, and then I lowered my contrast, and then I lowered my clarity in Lightroom, and we get this result, which she absolutely loved this picture. This is one of the ones she commented on immediately after we sent her the gallery. And he continues to use the 85. Now, for me personally, the 85 is a one-person portrait lens, okay? I personally would have changed lenses here, but he didn't. So you can see she's perfectly in focus. He's out of focus, but it's not so bad because he's not looking towards the camera, okay? But let's keep flipping through there. We can see, again, he's acceptably in focus, but he is out of focus, okay? Same thing here. So she's perfectly in focus, and you can see he is acceptably. Now, there's some times where they're unacceptably out of focus, and you have to redo the pictures. Or even worse yet is if you don't catch it, or you forget that you're shooting 1.4 and you don't catch it, then you have a problem on your hand. Now, this is acceptably. This would pass in probably 99% of the situations that you'll find yourself having to deliver this, because they really loved it. But that's something to think about. So here we are. Like I said, we were in full sun. It's during the day, so we have full sun out. Now, it was cloudy from time to time, but he wanted to get some shots that were studio style. And so this is what we did. So how do we do studio style? Well, we bring our f-stop down to 80. We go 60th of a second, and we go ISO 100, which is what I would shoot. Well, I take that back. It would be 200th of a second here in the studio. But other than that, we would absolutely be at f8, ISO 100. And we get a studio shot. Now, does this look like it was shot during the day outside? We are during the day and we are outside. No. That's beautiful right there. So right here, the flash is about a quarter power, maybe a half power right here. And it's directly overhead in a softbox. And the softbox is a small one. It's only a 24-inch or 2 feet across. So it's relatively small, easy to hoist around. And then we just go from a full body shot to a waist up shot, which was nice. And just a word of note, he didn't have a watch, so I lent him mine. And it looks really good in this shot. I like that. It's one of my favorites. Citizens. I love Citizen watches. That's one of my favorite ones. But yeah, he looks like GQ, doesn't he? So here my son really wanted to darken up the background, so I said, yeah, go for it. And so he went from F8 down to F16. So it's really dark now, and I can almost guarantee you with 100% certainty that this is shot at full power. And again, that is a Godox 360 strobe. So it's good all the way up to F16, which is pretty darn good. It even shot through a softbox, which is pretty impressive, because most flashes are not able to do this. Just a handsome guy, man. Look at that. He's got green eye, or are those blue? Yeah, he's got blue eyes. Matches perfectly with his green suit. And then just to when I was editing and saw this, I just cracked up, but I had to include it in there with him. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, the entire San Antonio area was dealing with some major wind gusts, and we had like 35 to 40 mile an hour winds, and it plagued us through this entire session. And the wind just blew really hard and just flipped his hair up, and we got that shot. And it's funny because here's his hair down, and then here's his hair up. He looks like somebody, like a movie character, like a great British. He looks like a British guy or something with his hair up like that. It almost looks like it's styled that way on purpose, and so that's why I left it in. And there's the classic pointing. Oh, I love the point shot. Looks good. The watch looks good. Man, my watch looks good. And also I want you to notice too how warm these are. Now I could have cooled these up, but I think it actually looks pretty good with that warm. And so here we are back. I take that back. He's still on the 85 here. And I did do a little bit of color correcting on these, so you can see they're not as warm. So same situation here. This is only a couple of 100 feet away from where we were shooting this. This is a pavilion that's outdoors, and it's open to everybody. Anybody can go in there. There were people actually sitting in there eating, so that as they were eating, they were taking in us as their entertainment. But you have this big old window right here. Wind's blowing through there, so nobody's actually pushing her veil around. It's actually blowing out, and then it's getting sucked in depending on which direction the wind was blowing. I thought it was funny, but we went with it. But it looks pretty good. And so here we have a shot. He's using available light, and then he decides that he wants to darken this down a little bit. So he darkens down the background and has me bring the flash power up a little bit, and we get a different shot. It really brings out the texture. When you darken stuff down, it really brings out the texture and the color. And I really love her hair here. This looks beautiful. It almost looks like we staged it on purpose. Beautiful young lady. Stunning. And then we bring her husband in. He takes this shot. He's like, okay, Dad, it looks good, but I don't like this right here. See, looking out this window, you can't really make out. Maybe he's starting to pick up my style, but I hate blown out. I have a hard time with doing I'm doing the air quotes right now, light and airy. I don't know. I just don't like light and airy for whatever reason. And he saw this here and didn't like it either. So he says, okay, Dad, I'm going to stop this down. And he is back on the 24 to 105 here. And he stops it down. So he's at F4, and then he's going to go down to F11. So here we are at F11, same lens, 24 to 105. But now you can see what's outside of that window now. We can see that there's the sky and the trees are there. And we got the big old flash right overhead. And I'm booming this on a big old light stand. So it's a 15-foot light stand. If I extend it all the way out, it's 15 feet, which I did. I extended this all the way out 15 feet. And then I picked it up from its base and put it onto my waist. And so it's about 25 feet in the air, that the light over them, because I'm standing on the lower floor. I'm not on any kind of stairs or anything. But it looks good. I'm really happy with it. They were really happy with these. And again, you can see that wind is just blowing through there. It's blowing her veil all over the place. So this set of shots. So this is, let's talk about these. These are using the sun, right? So we have to set it. We're using the sun as a second light source, right? So instead of having two strobes, which we do from time to time, but in general, I like to just use one. It just makes the session flow easier, and it's less stuff I have to worry about, carrying around, lugging around, and having to set it up every time we want to use it. So the sun was setting off to her left. Yeah, it's setting off to her left, and the sun is shining through some heavy trees because we're in like a little forest area here in the park. This is Brackenridge Park here in San Antonio. So, the first thing we always do is we set up the shot with no flash involved, and we're just making sure that we don't blow any highlights using that sunlight, and that's the shot we get. Okay, and then we add in our light after that. Boom, this is what we get. So we have a nice little blend of sunlight coming in from this side, but then we also have the big old strobe coming off on this side, and it's almost directly overhead. And in case you're ever wondering how to read these, as you can see that shadow's coming almost straight down on her nose. That lets you know that that light is directly above her head, and it's almost directly in front of her because there's hardly no shadow at all. See that? Which is good to know, right? It's always good to know. And the reason why it's good to know is because that way you can copy me, just like I copied the person that I saw these examples when I was learning. Photography is all about copying, guys. Don't be afraid to copy. Okay, that's how we learn. So here's the next picture, right? So the flash has been moved at this point. The sunlight obviously is in the same position, but what makes 3D pictures, people always wonder, well, why do their pictures pop like that? I don't understand what it is. And what it is that we have a light source coming from behind her, which is going through her hair and giving us this shadow right here. But even with another strobe coming from the opposite side, we still have this shadow. You see this shadow right here? You see the shadow right here on the inside of her nose? And then you also have this shadow right here at her neck. Okay, that, my friends, is what gives you a 3D popping image. So this flash is actually over her shoulder, and I have her looking straight up at the flash. So you can see that the flash is no longer in front of her. It's not at 45. It's more like what would it be at? Like 110 degrees is where it's at from her. She has to look over her, basically look over her shoulder at it in order to see it, and you can see that flash right there in her eyes. But this is a beautiful portrait, absolutely beautiful. I really love this. We included the tree on purpose to include some texture, and the branch coming across too. I could have very easily went over there and broke this branch, but when you see this crossing her dress, you just like, what is that? It makes you want to investigate or look more into the picture. So having a foreground and backgrounds really brings some interest to the picture. But these are just absolutely stunning. The Samyang 85 for RF autofocus is one of the best lenses you can get. And they no longer make them, so you really have to pay a premium to get one nowadays. They sell for about $700 to $1,000 depending on what condition they're in, right? So once we got a couple of shots of her, we're going to keep the same scene. We're not going to change nothing. We're just going to bring him in, and we're going to face him towards that sunlight. So, wow. We get the nice blue light on her. Blue light. Fill light from our strobe. And then we have the sunlight coming directly into his face. And she absolutely loved this picture. This is a beautiful setup. Absolutely beautiful setup. You don't get any better than this. This, my friends, will make you $250, $350 a session for a 1 hour session. And this session took me about an hour to edit. So it's not bad, for 2 hours worth of work, $350. I mean, I'll take that all day, every day, and 2 times on Sunday. But look at this. I mean, this is magazine quality, guys, at its best. So here we changed the setup just one last time, and we're still on the 85 Samyang. And we still are going to use our strobe, but now you can see that there's no highlight over his shoulder, right? Why is that? Well, we have the sun coming from behind her, but it's not going to light his face. It's just not going to do it because she's covering that sunlight, right? So he would have a huge shadow on his face. So how do we alleviate that? Well, we bring the strobe back around to the opposite side. So now the strobe is firing from the same side as the sunlight to put that highlight on his nose and cheeks, and gives him a nice little outline, right? And that veil provides enough bounce back to where it kind of fills in beautifully on her face. And this is one of the other pictures that she really commented on that she really loved. And we're just bringing that strobe over to the sun side, and we're just adjusting it to make sure that it's shining exactly where we want it. And because it's coming from the same side, it fools our brain. Our brain, looking at this picture, would never guess that there's a strobe on it, even though there is. And that's the secret. That's always the secret. It's using that flash in a way where our brain just assumes that the light was there, right? We're not adding anything. It was just there, magically there. But just absolutely beautiful. And that's the last picture, guys. So you can see the 24-105 is still my favorite lens of all time, and I will continue to use it. I have 4 copies. So I used one on my video camera. I got one on my 1D Mark III, and I have one on my the RF version on my R6 Mark II and my R6. So I have 2 R6s, the 1 and the 2, and they both have 24-105s on them. I just like it for everything. But that's been my show for today, guys, and I hope you are genuinely enjoying it, and I hope that the information that I share with you not only will help my son and my daughter-in-law in the future, because they can reference me once I'm no longer here, and I hope you can gain something out of it too, right? Because there's no way around it. You have to have experience. Experience is the only way that you're going to get better. The only way you can get experience is by getting out there and making a mess of all your pictures. Shoot a whole bunch of bad pictures, because you can't take good pictures unless you take a whole bunch of bad pictures. So if you can help us out again one more time, if you could subscribe, drop us a comment, give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, guys, just take care, keep shooting pictures, and get through the bad ones so you can get to the good ones. You take care. My name has been Alfonso Chavez, and we've been coming to you from the garage here in San Antonio, Texas. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.